Mangwana ni Malelepo Vukenjani Klekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news show that brings you the latest headlines shaping the continent on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, 1up2.com, as well as Network Media Hub on YouTube. What you can expect in today's broadcast: as Namibia mourns its founding father Sam Nujoma, the Namibian Defense Force prepares for his state funeral, while we track his remains to Keetmanshoop, sharing the route map of his final journey. From Botswana, Rorisang Mogojwe joins us with the latest, including the landmark diamond deal between Botswana and De Beers, along with other key developments. In Zimbabwe, journalist Blessed Mhlanga is denied bail, raising press freedom concerns, while a South African court dismisses claims of white genocide. The UK halts aid to Rwanda over its role in the Congo conflict, and John Legend defends his Kigali performance despite backlash. Plus, Africa is struggling to mobilize local financing for economic stability. Stay with us for these stories and more on Africa Good Morning. But first, the Namibian Defense Force conducted a full-scale military rehearsal in preparation for Windhoek's official state funeral procession. The rehearsal began at Hosea Kutako International Airport, following the B6 road through Sam Nujoma Drive and various routes in the capital. According to NDF Head of Public Relations, Colonel Petras Shilumbu, the exercise was crucial for identifying logistical gaps, refining planning, and ensuring smooth execution on the day of the procession.
This morning we started with a military rehearsal from Hosea Kutako International Airport on a B6 road until at Sam Nujoma Drive. You have observed that the rehearsal was fully packed, and we were just trying to practice what is going to happen actually on Thursday, that is on the 27th of February. The rehearsal is very, very important so that before one can conduct the mission, the actual mission, you need to run a rehearsal that can identify some gaps, and those gaps need to be filled in, and also for planning purposes and for adjusting where necessary is required for adjustment. So the rehearsal was conducted throughout the route from Sam Nujoma Drive. We branch out on your left at the embassy or the High Commission of Zambia into Mandume Ndemfayo, from Mandume Ndemfayo to David Hosea Miroro, straight down up to Hendrik Witbooi down to IUM, and then from IUM we went to Moses Garweb Street. We continue with Moses Garweb until down at Ochomise, where the intersection of Moses Garweb and Winnie Madikizela. Then we turned to our right, proceeded up to Independence Avenue again at Van Hayda and Green. From Van Hayda, we went down with Soweto Market. We proceeded from Soweto Market up to Katutura Hospital. Then we also stopped over at SWAPO headquarters for 2 minutes, for the casket to be there for 2 minutes, and then proceed to Independence Avenue. Independence Avenue will continue with Independence Avenue until at the CBD, and then at the CBD we'll also come up to Hilton. In Hilton we'll turn again to Sam Nujoma Drive, proceeding to Parliament. Coming just before Robert Mugabe, we turn on our left into Robert Mugabe, and then to Parliament. At Parliament, that's where the casket is going for laying in state on Thursday until Friday morning.
Today, the late founding father of Namibia, Dr. Sam Nujoma's remains will travel to Keetmanshoop. Stay tuned for the route. As Namibians mourn the late founding father, Dr. Sam Nujoma, this is the route his mortal remains will take in Keetmanshoop. From the airport into Dr. Sam Nujoma Avenue, into Hampi Plichta Avenue, then into 4th Street until reconnecting with Dr. Sam Nujoma Drive, then turn into Bernardo Swartboy Street, into Reverend Dr. Andreas Beaver Street, continue on to Tabe Avenue, then turn right onto D. Leipert Street. Follow the route until reaching J. Stefano Stadium. In our top stories, a Harare court denied bail to Alpha Media Holdings journalist Blessed Mhlanga, who faces charges under Section 164 of the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act, Chapter 923, for allegedly transmitting information that incites violence or causes damage to property. Mhlanga was arrested on Monday after voluntarily presenting himself at Harare Central Police Station with his lawyer Chris Mike. The charges stem from an interview he conducted with war veteran Blessed Geza, a vocal opponent of the Mnangagwa 2030 agenda, on AMH's broadcaster HSTV, where Geza called for President Emmerson Mnangagwa's immediate resignation. Mike criticized the police for what he described as unprofessional handling of the case, revealing that Mhlanga had been summoned 3 times in the past month, only to be released each time with no case established. By lunchtime, they had completed the process of questioning him and finalizing paperwork, yet instead of taking him to court, they chose to detain him, Mike said. He also decried the appalling conditions at Harare Central's holding cells, describing them as inhumane, with inmates left without food, water, or proper sleeping arrangements. The prosecution argued that granting bail would allow Mhlanga to interfere with witnesses, most of whom are his junior colleagues, and claimed that key evidence was yet to be recovered. Mike countered that the state had failed to present compelling reasons for his continued detention, asserting that silencing journalists is not part of the law, and that Mhlanga was merely performing his journalistic duty. He further pointed to Section 61 of the Constitution, which guarantees freedom of expression and media, questioning what happened to press freedom in this country. We'll certainly be looking and keeping an eye on that story. Talent Gore will be bringing us updates in the coming week. Now, a South African court has dismissed claims of a white genocide in the country as clearly imagined and not real, as it blocked a wealthy benefactor's donation to a racist right-wing group. The High Court recently set aside a 40 million rand donation Grantland Michael Bray wanted to make to white supremacist group Boer Legion, ruling it as invalid, vague, and contrary to public policy. Bray reportedly wanted to bequeath the amount to the group to help it further its messages of racial hatred and separation. The ruling comes as U.S. President Donald Trump and his advisor Elon Musk accuse South Africa's government of mistreating the country's white minority. Trump referred to the large-scale killing of farmers in South Africa, while Musk has condemned what he said were racist ownership laws and previously called out the genocide of white people, all in quotes. Despite vowing to crack down on immigration, Trump has said that white South African farmers would be allowed to settle in the U.S. as refugees because of the persecution he said they faced. Now, the Boer Legion described itself as a civil defense movement that enables citizens to resist the promised slaughter of whites in South Africa, as well as the theft of their property. Moving on to our next story. Britain yesterday said it would pause some bilateral aid to Rwanda and impose other diplomatic sanctions on Kigali over its role in the conflict in neighboring Congo. Rwanda is facing global pressure over allegations it supports the M23 group, which since January has captured swathes of eastern Congo, including the cities of Goma and Bukavu, and valuable mineral deposits. Kigali denies backing the group, but says its own troops are acting in self-defense against hostile groups based in Congo. A statement from the British government said that until there was significant progress in ending hostilities and the withdrawal of all Rwanda defense forces from Congolese territory, Britain would take action. This would involve ending high-level attendance at events hosted by the government of Rwanda, limiting trade promotion activity with Rwanda, and pausing direct bilateral financial aid to the government of Rwanda, excluding support support to the poorest and most vulnerable. The statement said Britain would also coordinate with partners on potential new sanctions, suspend future defense training assistance to Rwanda, and review export licenses for the Rwanda Defense Force. And in the last of our top stories, related, American singer-songwriter John Legend has told the BBC he is unfazed by public backlash against his decision to perform in Rwanda, despite the country's involvement in the war in neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. I don't believe that we should punish the people of Rwanda and punish the people of other countries when we disagree with their leaders, he said after last week's concert in Kigali. In recent weeks, M23 rebels backed by Rwanda have seized the two largest cities in the mineral-rich east of DR Congo. There is evidence Rwanda has sent 4,000 troops across the border to support the rebels. Hundreds of thousands of civilians are now destitute, having fled their homes, and shocking violence, including the rape of children, has skyrocketed. Critics argue that John Legend could have made a powerful statement by pulling out of the concert, especially given his highly respected EGOT status as someone who has won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Awards. Fellow Grammy winner Thames did pull out of a concert she was due to give on Saturday in Rwanda, saying she would never ever intend to be insensitive to real-world issues. But John Legend defended his decision to headline the Move Africa event in Kigali, which was run by the Global Citizen NGO and attracted thousands of fans from across the continent. He said he was not being paid for the performance, but felt it was his duty to help grow touring capabilities on the African continent, which is often overlooked by international stars on so-called world tours. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we get the very latest from Botswana from Rorisang Mogojwe.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
It's time for us to talk to Rorisang Mogojwe as she brings us the news stories from Botswana. Good morning, Rorisang.
Africa, good morning, and thank you so much for having me today. After almost 2 weeks of flooding and heavy rains, the sun is finally shining, and we're so happy.
All right, let's get straight into it. The death toll from recent flash floods in Botswana has risen to 8 following the drowning of a child in Ramotswa, with authorities warning that flood risks persist in some areas. Could you please give us an overview with regards to the floods in Botswana?
Yes, and speaking of the flooding crisis, Botswana has been experiencing heavy rainfalls, which have led to significant flash flooding. Most parts of the country have experienced such flooding, although others were spared. The flooding has been ongoing for about 2 weeks now, and it is forecast to continue throughout this week and next as well, according to the Department of Meteorology from the region, from SADC actually. They are forecasting that the rains will continue. Now, the death toll has gone up to 8, and majority of the deceased are children due to drowning incidents. There's only an elderly man who died due to a wall collapsing on him as a result of the damage to infrastructure and property that occurred. But the rest are drownings in rivers or burrow pits, and most of them are children. About 10 years, we have a 10-year-old, an 8, a 5, and a 4-year-old, and then we have 2 teenagers as well as 2 senior adults. Now, a lot of children have been displaced due to the flooding. A lot of them are bearing the brunt. They have been affected. The National Emergency Operations Center has recorded that 705 children have been affected by the flooding. A majority of them are currently in evacuation centers with their families. The government is doing all it can to assist, but the good thing about it is that a lot of private companies and a lot of private individuals, members of the public, have come out to donate the necessary essentials, that is the basics, the food, the nappies, the medical care, everything that you can think of that is required during a flooding crisis. We also have the Botswana Red Cross, the Red Cross Society. They have also come out to assist in that regard, as led by the National Disaster Management Office. So really, it is something that is very significant, a natural disaster that has really affected the country, and within the city of Gaborone and the greater Gaborone, it is unprecedented, but it is not unusual. That's what the Department of Meteorology is saying, that while it is unprecedented, it's something that was to be expected due to the nature of things during this time of the year, which is the time when we expect heavy rains in the country. However, dam levels are receding because there was a lot of dam spillage, especially from Gaborone Dam in the city, which did cause with the dam spillage. It is spilled onto rivers around the city, and these rivers then overflowed onto some of the properties and the infrastructure, causing that damage. However, dam levels are receding currently, but the government is warning that we're still not out of the woods yet. Flooding risk still continues, it persists, so therefore people must be careful. So really, right now everything is a little bit calm, but the warning is that we're not out of the woods yet, and people should continue to remain vigilant during this time up until the rainy season is over.
We'll certainly be keeping an eye and expecting an update from you with regards to those floods. In your next story, the government of Botswana and De Beers have signed a historic agreement extending Botswana's mining licenses for 25 years and renewing the sales agreement for 10 years with a possible 5-year extension.
Just as you've explained the contents of the deal, Ashwin, yesterday the government of Botswana and De Beers held a signing ceremony to finally ink the deal, which has been in negotiations for the last 6 years. In 2023, if you can recall, the deal was made in principle. It was never inked under President Mokgweetsi. However, yesterday the two parties finally signed this agreement, and all three, President Duma Boko, as well as the Minister of Minerals and Energy, Bukholo Kinowendo, and the CEO of De Beers, Al Cook, welcomed this move, saying it will bring future economic prosperity to the country of Botswana. Not only that, it will stamp or continue to stamp Botswana as a diamond leader, a world diamond leader, and also bring jobs to the country as well. And it also cements the good partnership that Botswana and De Beers have had over the years and will continue to have over the next 10 years. So therefore, it was a welcome move. What was happening yesterday was just the formal signing of the deal, which has been concluded. As we know that it was announced early this month that the deal was concluded. So yesterday it was the signing. So we look forward to seeing the economic benefits of this deal and what it will bring to the country as well as to the people of Botswana.
We are always grateful to Rorisang Mogojwe for bringing us the latest news updates from Botswana. Let's have a look at the weather predictions. In our economic news story, African leaders push to mobilize domestic sources of cash to help fund billions in sovereign borrowing will face slow progress until low savings rates rise and African investors step up, experts and analysts say. The drive to tap their own bourses, pensions and savings funds comes after punishing years when spiraling costs locked many African countries out of international debt markets and a soaring US dollar drove up their debt servicing costs. Borrowing at home, advocates say, would reduce reliance on volatile international markets, lower exposure to foreign currencies, and let African investors more familiar with local risks play a bigger role. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, 1up2.com and Network Media Hub on YouTube. As you are aware, the remains of Dr. Sam Nujoma will be in Keetmanshoop today, and tomorrow Windhoek, the capital city, will receive the late founding father. On Friday will be the official memorial service, and on Saturday we bury the legend, the man that has brought freedom to Namibia and inspired us all far beyond the grave. My name is Ashwin Berry. Suraj Laganaka.